Welcome back to White Widow Sports. We got some March Madness coming at you here. Standalone video. We thought we'd capitalize on the popularity. So before we get into this, I just want to say that this will be two of our first times filling out a bracket ever in their lives. Um, uh, it's the other two. Spoiler alert. Myself, I had a friend in high school had me fill out a bracket around the age of 16. I've done it almost every year since. A few times I missed out on it because it just started too fast and I didn't get my picks in. So if you know anything about this tournament, and I'm sure a lot of you do if you're watching this, you'll know that it really doesn't matter that I've done it for about 20 years and they've never done it because these things are wild. There's a reason that it's called March Madness. So we're just going to go through the first round, see if anyone's done anything crazy. We'll skip over the final four, pick our national. Then, as a bonus, if you can call it that, give you our women's picks, just the final four and the champion. So starting out, the overall one seed Auburn is going to go against tonight's, I believe tonight. The play-in game will be played tonight, I believe. Alabama State and St. Francis of Pennsylvania. Anyone pick something crazy here, or we all got Auburn?
Yeah, I got
Um,
Alabama State winning tonight's play-in game and then losing to Auburn.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Well, I didn't pick the winner of
Sandbagging
the play-in game, but I do have Auburn against whoever wins this one.
Auburn as
Um,
well.
this one, I believe, is happening in the state of Kentucky, so that I find that interesting. We have Louisville and Creighton, the 8 and 9 seed. Who we got?
I went Louisville.
I went Creighton with the upset.
Not a huge upset there, I don't think, but I like it. But I also picked Louisville. I just like their experience in the tournament. They both got good experience in the tournament. Just kind of a gut call there. Down to the 5-12, an upset that happens a lot of the time, but you don't always have to go that way. We got Michigan and UC San Diego.
Michigan.
Yep, it's Michigan for me as well.
I got Michigan as well. Only thing I want to say about that one is this shows my ignorance, or maybe it's not ignorance. Maybe this is not well known. You see San Diego, this is their first time being eligible for a tournament, and they made the tournament. And I was like, I could have sworn San Diego's made it several times. They even won a national championship. Those are two different schools. Go figure. Texas A&M and Yale.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
got a nephew and Brian's got a son that would disown us both if we didn't take the Aggies. So
that's
giggle.
it. That's it.
All right. Well, I had something to say on this one. Every time we've talked about Texas A&M on this show, something negative has happened to them. Whether that be baseball, where they dropped three in a row. Um, Maybe that's the only example I can think of off the top of my head. I know there's another one, but there's another one. Yale's winning this one.
Ooh,
Oh, spicy, spicy.
yeah.
We've got Ole Miss versus the winner of San Diego State and the most controversial team to get in the tournament, North Carolina.
I
Wait,
got
Brian.
Ole Miss.
Yep, I took Ole Miss as well. I know it's chalk and unexciting, but I did this vibes only and hard to
Yeah.
pick against Ole Miss with the season they've had.
So for this one, I ain't got a lot to say about a lot of them. I got a little something to say on this one. All I'm seeing on social media and everywhere else is how North Carolina does not deserve to be in this. West Virginia deserves to be in this. They did horrible against other tournament teams. They just don't deserve, and they got in on their name alone. I think that pisses them off. They play their best basketball they've played in a long time. They win the play-in game, then they beat Ole Miss as well.
Are you banking on Michael Jordan playing again, or what's happening there?
No, I'm banking on a pissed off team that's being disrespected. It happens in sports a good bit, so I just went with it.
You have
Uh,
Lipscomb beating Iowa State as well. I mean,
that
how
brings us to our
spicy are
next
you making
one.
this?
No, Iowa State is going to win that one.
Iowa State.
Same, same.
A little closer in seeding, Marquette and New Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, I think Marquette's a little bit of a higher seed for a reason. They've played some good basketball. You
Yeah.
talked about experience in the tournament. They've got it as well. So I went Marquette.
Yeah, this is one of my upsets here. I went New Mexico. I think it may be their year to go a little deeper.
I went New Mexico as well. According to the analysts, and I haven't seen a lot of their games, they have a really good player that's putting up a lot of points and a little underrated. So yeah, I went New Mexico as well. Michigan State and Bryant.
Easy pick, Michigan State.
Michigan
Easy
State
pick.
as well.
Yeah, Michigan State. Yeah,
I didn't even know Bryant was in it. So
yeah,
tells you.
that is not an upset that's happened too much. All right, Florida and Norfolk State.
Oh, hold on, you jumped around on me. Okay, we're moving to the West.
In
Oh,
the
I went to the
West,
West.
yes.
I was going down my screen, and I
Got
thought
you.
that
It's
We
all
got
good.
West next as well.
All right.
Easy pick. I went Florida. No
Yeah,
upset there.
yeah,
Florida's
that's
had a really good year.
no
that's
one's
a
crazy there.
no-brainer, Florida.
Here's a good close one: UConn and Oklahoma.
This one actually was tough to try to
Yeah,
pick and decipher between the two teams. I went UConn. Just I think they have more of a reputation in basketball,
oh, yeah.
so
I
I
almost
think
uh
UConn.
I almost changed this pick because when I
Mhm.
picked UConn, maybe a little bit of a spoiler here. I was thinking like, oh, Paige Becker, she's pretty good. Like, let me take her. Can't believe they're only the 8 seed. Then I realized I was filling out the men's bracket,
Yeah.
and you know what? I kept it Huskies, UConn.
I also picked UConn. Like you said, Oklahoma. Outside of Trey Young and Blake Griffin, I can't think of a lot of Oklahoma success. And I actually looked into it a little. Oklahoma, of course, playing in the SEC. Their key wins and losses, a lot of the key teams they went up against, they didn't win any of them. So UConn, uh, defending champs, bit lower than in previous years, but I'm taking them in this round. Memphis and Colorado State.
Who you got, Chris?
I got Memphis, though I heard a few analysts say they like Colorado State and the upset there. I looked it over, some quick fact checking and stuff. I like what I saw for Memphis.
Yeah, I think
I
if
went
there
Memphis.
was a 12 to beat a 5 seed, this could be that game.
Good
But
point.
I'm not betting on it. I went with Memphis as well.
Same.
Maryland and Grand Canyon.
I went Maryland.
Yep. Pretty chalk. I went Maryland as well. I don't
I
see
think
GCU competing to that
I
kind of
think
level.
I think Grand Canyon has a great record, and I think correct me if I'm wrong out there, guys, but like I think they beat Arizona State, but that's about it. So I went Maryland as well.
As well.
Um, Missouri and Drake.
I really wanted to take Drake here, but after getting beat down by Kendrick Lamar at the Super Bowl, I just don't think they're healthy enough at this point. So I went Mizzou.
I went Mizzou as well.
I went Drake. I actually caught a Missouri game or two. I was not impressed. They fumbled it, their momentum away several times. I like Drake in this one.
Okay.
Texas Tech and UNC Wilmington.
Yeah, I've got
Anybody bold
Texas
enough?
Tech in that one. No, that ain't it for me.
No, that ain't it for me. I got Texas Tech.
Same.
Here's one that we might have some fun on: Kansas and Arkansas.
Go ahead, Brian.
Got to go Kansas.
Yep. Kansas for me as well. And real quick, I'm going to spoil my next one
Hmm?
as well. But I have Kansas winning in the next round as well.
Okay.
I do too.
Well, I have Arkansas winning this one. Um, Kansas is not the team that they have been in the past, as evident by the 7 seed. Arkansas is not that great either, but I feel like they're battle tested from being in the 14 tournament team SEC. I'm taking Arkansas, and spoiler, I was going to take them in the next round as well.
Oh, so not a
All
few
right.
believers in St. John's, but it seems like we have them knocking out Omaha across the board and
I
then
have
losing in the round of 32.
Yep.
St. John's and then losing in the next round. All right, so that completes that part. What did you want to go, east or
East.
Go
east?
East.
Okay. East. Well, anyone brave enough to pick against Duke here?
Negative.
Nope.
America.
The upsets happen a couple times, but like 99%.
Yeah, Duke, especially if Cooper Flag comes back, you just not gonna pick a 16 seed over that.
Mississippi State and Baylor, a tough one for me, actually.
It was me as well. I went Mississippi State.
Yeah, this is probably one of my few examples of picking the lower seed so far, but I went Baylor.
I went Baylor as well. Despite what I just said about Arkansas, I don't think Mississippi's. I think this is just a little too close. And I just like what Baylor's done.
It's going to be, I
Uh,
mean, you mentioned there being 14 teams in the SEC make the tournament. It's going to
mhm.
be real interesting to see how many of them advance past the first round. I think that's going to be one of the stories that a lot of people pay attention to is just how many SEC teams actually advance and how far they go.
Yeah, of course, a few have a much easier path. Mississippi State not being one of them.
Correct.
I struggle with this one pretty hard, but we have Oregon and Liberty.
Yeah.
I have
I
Oregon.
went. I also went Oregon. Ducks. Speed is just kind of their strong suit across all sports. It seems they've got a lot of it this year. I know Liberty comes in and they play. They're not afraid of the big stage. I just don't think they've got the firepower this year.
Yeah, I also went Oregon. I wanted to convince myself of Liberty, but I couldn't do it. Arizona and Akron.
It's Arizona.
It's
100%.
Arizona. Yeah, it's Arizona. There wasn't much debate there. I had some trouble on this one, and I personally just don't like BYU, but I picked BYU over VCU in the next game here.
I went with the Mormons as well.
Yep, I went
I mean
BCU.
Cougars.
I went BCU, but got them losing next round. So
I tell you something interesting about BYU, and this is why I think I got to give them more credit in something like basketball, is they all come in averaging the age of 25 or 26 years old after their Mormon missions. I think it's pretty frowned upon that even if you're a pretty good player to leave college early too. So you're talking about guys that went on a Mormon mission, maybe got red shirt, and then are staying to their senior year. They usually have a lot of team chemistry in these things. Personally, don't like them, but I have to give the credit where it's due there.
Yeah, I don't think
Uh,
it gets them very far, but it should get them through the first round.
yeah. Wisconsin and Montana.
I went Wisconsin.
got to go with the cheeseheads.
Yeah, I went Wisconsin as well, though I love seeing them choke a lot. I just don't see it against Montana in the first round, at least. I
This
did
might be
take
an
it.
unnecessary intermission, but I always think about this whenever I see Wisconsin. A friend of mine named Matt Taylor, there's 0% chance he's watching this. He and I fell out of contact several years back, but he had this joke about how if Florida introduced Gatorade, then people from Wisconsin must drink Badger milk. And I don't know, it's just something whenever I see one of their players holding it, I was like, I bet they're drinking Badger milk, and that's why they're going to beat Montana.
Oh man, I actually took BYU to knock off Wisconsin in the next round.
I
As
did
a
not.
We'll see how
I
all
did
that
not as
plays
well.
out. St. Mary's and Vanderbilt.
I went Vandy.
Yeah, I think I alluded to how many SEC teams are going to advance. This is not one of them. I took St. Mary's to
Ooh.
knock them off.
Ooh,
I took Vanderbilt. I caught a few parts of their games. They were playing really good against the likes of Tennessee, Alabama, Florida. Um, I'm taking Vanderbilt. I think they've got it in them. Whether they show up or not remains to be seen. Anybody brave enough to pick against Alabama, who spent a lot of or some of the year in the top five, if not most of the year in the top five?
no.
Definitely not. One of the few games I've watched up to this point in pre-tournament basketball is Alabama and Auburn. I believe they were 1-2 in the country at the time. Alabama played them very close, but it seemed like they would fight to get into it, and then they'd give up a little bit of a run. I don't see Robert Morris being able to do the same things that Auburn did. So
No, I think they're just happy
it's
to be there.
Crimson Tide.
Yeah. All right, Midwest. Houston against SIUE, who I forget who that is, but I know it's like their first year in the tournament or something like that.
Easy
Yeah,
pick, Houston.
Easy
Yeah.
Houston, yeah.
I'm not willing to learn the team name because I'm not picking them. So
Battle of the Bulldogs, Gonzaga and Georgia.
You know, I love UGA. I will always love UGA. Therefore, I
But-
will always pick UGA until the next round.
I kind of have a very similar thought process. I don't like UGA. I've never liked UGA. Therefore, I'm taking Gonzaga.
Well, that puts me in a position, doesn't it? Like UGA, I've always liked UGA. Always will like UGA. I saw their games. When you put them on that stage, they struggle. I'm picking Gonzaga.
Here we go.
This is one I tried to convince myself to pick otherwise, but we have Clemson and McNeese, and I could not pick against Clemson. I think they beat several other tournament teams. I think they even beat Duke this year. So that's got to count for
Ooh.
something.
Yep, that's exactly my thought process. I wanted to pull the trigger on one of these
Yeah.
lower seeds. I couldn't do it. I have Clemson.
Brian, I saw you shake your head. Did you go McNeese?
No, I went.
No, I went
That's
Clemson.
Okay. Just without revealing your next game's pick, do you have Clemson in the next round as well?
I do.
I had Clemson winning the
they're-
next round as well.
And they're, yeah.
Same.
I
Seeing
did.
some of the teams they beat this year impressed me. Just looking into it, I was like, man,
Same. I see a run for Clemson.
yeah.
And the
well,
next one's an easy pick, so everybody should know the next one is Purdue and High Point.
mhm.
So it's got to be Purdue.
Picked Purdue myself. I know a
No,
High Point
no
graduate.
Zach Edey.
Yeah, still a good team though, but I know a High
Mhm.
Point graduate. Sorry, Monye. I think you went to High Point. If you're watching, you're not watching. So if I got that wrong, it won't matter. Uh, we have Illinois versus the winner of Texas Xavier. That's hard because both of those teams at 11 could compete.
Yeah, it's kind of
but I
one of
went
those
Illinois.
that it's a more interesting pick to see who wins that playoff play-in game.
Yeah,
But just because I don't know who the opponent will be, I took Illinois.
Same.
yeah, I took Illinois. I could see both of those teams giving them trouble though. Kentucky and Troy. Anybody brave enough to pull this one?
Kentucky.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
Kentucky. Yes.
Little tighter of a matchup: UCLA and Utah State.
Yeah, I went UCLA. I mean, I know it's just the higher seed, and that only gets you so far. But Utah State's just not one of those teams that I've really been impressed by looking into them. So I went UCLA.
As much as I love the Dogs, I do not like the UCLA. So I went Utah State.
It's a decent pick. I think they have some decent wins. Their win total is pretty high up there. I just don't like the strength of schedule, and UCLA I do. So I just I wanted to pick against, but I couldn't do it. Anybody got Wofford?
No.
Anybody got Wofford over Tennessee? The Terriers who limped their way in, like my dog, who's got 3 good legs right now.
I thought about it, but no, I went Tennessee. I didn't really think.
I
about
actually
it.
saw Wofford play. Like I was working out and had on the SoCon tournament. I think Wofford was the 5 seed in the conference tournament, and I don't know how they didn't end up a 16 seed here, playing like Auburn or something. But yeah, Tennessee's going to slaughter them, I think.
Ross
next-
once told
the
me that
final-
orange is the worst possible color in existence, and
So.
he's got Clemson and Tennessee going pretty deep in here. Maybe he doesn't hate it as much as I thought.
Uh-oh.
I have to go with logic and reason sometimes, All right, guys. So we all have some different stuff here, but let's skip all the way ahead to the final 4 because we may not get a chance to record. Or if we do, we'll just bring it back up and see how confident and how we've done. But right now, we'll go ahead and say these are my final 4. How would we like to do this? We'd like to go around and each throw out the 4, or go ahead and name one of the 4 and then go back around. What do you think would be most fun?
I think maybe matchups is best, like Southwest and then East Midwest.
Okay.
So I mean, just to kind of start that off, I've got 1 seed Auburn losing to 1 seed Florida.
Mm.
Okay. Southwest, I've got 1 seed Florida. This hurts me. Beating 2 seed Michigan State.
Ooh.
Hey, I'm the same.
Oh,
Florida and
exactly.
Michigan State. Florida wins.
Man,
No,
that
no love for Auburn, huh?
No love for
no,
Auburn.
I saw, I caught some parts of their games and I saw them choke a few times. And I just think it might happen again. And some feedback. Thanks for you guys on social media and stuff. Your feedback for Auburn. Literally, all of you just saying they're going to choke. They suck. They can't do it. I'm starting to believe you. So, and I even saw it happen a couple times. I forget how many losses they have. It's not a lot, but it's enough to make me think it might happen again. Uh, East versus Midwest, the other two Final Four teams. Brian, why don't you go ahead and start us on that one?
This should be fun. So I have number 2 Alabama, no surprise,
Okay,
and I have number 1 Houston. So I've got Houston winning that. So
interesting.
my final game is Florida and Houston.
Hmm.
Nice. Well, I've got, you said no surprise, but it was a little bit of a surprise because I've got two different teams. I've
Oh,
got number 1 Duke losing to number 2 Tennessee, an all SEC national championship on April 7th. I've got Florida beating Tennessee to win the Natty.
Oh,
uh,
and since I didn't know we were naming the winners, I
yeah.
also picked Florida to beat Houston.
Oh,
So
okay.
in my other two Final Four, I have Houston and Duke. Not very exciting 1 seeds, um, but I've done this for several years now, and somehow I just gotta believe that Houston's winning this one, and then they're going on to play Florida, and then Houston's finally winning that one too. I know it's not happened in a long time. They've not had this glory since what was it called? Phi Slamma Jamma, Hakeem Olajuwon, all that stuff. Um, it's time, man. Let's go Houston. I think I'm just putting some gut feelings in here, basing this on nothing but me just wanting to see Houston win and Florida fumble their way out of a championship.
And just in case somebody's playing along and have the same picks we do, of course, I think we're all pretty close. What did y'all do for points?
Well, since we have the same one, maybe me and you can go ahead and start this one off. So Florida and Houston, but you had Florida winning, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, regardless, I have 144 points.
Oh, I think it's going to be high. I think it's going to be 225.
Uh,
Wow.
okay.
Yeah, I'm not, I'm a way closer than Chris. Of course, I had Florida beating Tennessee, but total points at 148.
148. Yeah, I didn't put a whole lot of thought in that. I just went, 78 to 69 or something. I don't know. I just kind of threw a score in there that I would think I would see. All right, guys. Women's tournament. We won't put you through all that because, in our opinions, which I think is based on facts, women just don't have too many upsets, and you're not going to see a huge surprise at the end of the year ever. I think the overall number one overall seed for women has won it probably 19 of the last 20 years. So um, we'll go on down to our final four, which I guess I'll start this one off in what mine is calling Regional 1 and Regional 4, which I don't know why it doesn't have actual regions. But that's what it's telling me. I've got UCLA and UConn playing each other, with UConn advancing to the championship.
I'll go next just because I can say the exact same thing as Chris. I've got UConn beating UCLA, advancing to the title game.
Yeah, how about that?
We were all kind of close. I have UConn and North Carolina State, with UConn going forward.
So we all have Huskies in the national championship.
Yeah, how can you bet against them? Like for the last 25 years, they've dominated. I think they are the women's standard. No disrespect to South Carolina, all sorts of disrespect to Tennessee. Pat Summitt was a great coach. Tennessee women's basketball is a great program, but UConn has completely outclassed them in the last 25 years. So That's just a fact, honestly.
Brian, who do you have in your 2 versus 3?
Yeah.
Hang on.
I will
Okay, I
not.
got you. I had to scroll down a little bit. So no surprise on this one, I don't think. South Carolina over Texas.
What about you, Chris?
I've got South Carolina over Texas. Women's basketball doesn't have a lot of upsets. You're just not going to see it. Like the talent gap is so wide, and South Carolina's been. I said UConn's been the dominant program for like 25 years, the last 25 years or so, give or take. South Carolina's been the most dominant program over the last 5 years.
Well, all that being said, I do have to throw something out here a little bit. I've actually got Texas losing to South Carolina. There's nothing different here. It's South Carolina and UConn in the title game. I hope somebody picked a little bit of a different winner in the national championship than I did because I have South Carolina beating UConn.
I did
Better
too.
team defeats the better player. I think we all know Paige Beckers is the best singular player in this game, but South Carolina, better team. This is very reminiscent of the LSU team beating Iowa. Caitlin Clark was clearly the most talented player on the court, but there was a lot more overall talent on LSU that year, and that's why they got that win.
I
I
agree.
got the historic, if you want to call it that, dynasty living on over the recent dynasty living on. Give me UConn. South Carolina's a little less invincible than they have. I think, yeah, one of these years in the last few years, I think the women's basketball team went 38-0, or I think they had 0 losses. There have been like 3 losses this year. UConn's going to give them another. UConn wins this championship. I had 147 total points, which I think was only 3 off my men's points.
Yeah, I went almost 20 points difference. I don't think you're going to see as much scoring, not as much defense, but maybe not as much scoring talent. I went 129 in points.
Okay.
Oh well, it's super close because we both picked South Carolina to win. I've got 130 on my points.
Oh, a little over under action.
Yeah. So
Now,
That'll be interesting.
well, this one was fun. I expect to actually see this matchup. Men's, the madness will get a hold of it and tear it all apart, and we'll be sitting here going, "Man, who knew?" This one, I expect us to kind of have a little bickering on at the very end because I expect to see most of these teams in there at the end. But guys, thanks for joining us on our March Madness video here. We hope that you'll join our bracket and follow along. We'll be doing some updates on social. We won't be doing one of these videos for every day of every round of every game. So we'll update you on socials, tell you who picked some pretty good upsets, highlight some Cinderella stories if there are any, and then we'll catch you back closer to the Elite Eight, the Final Four, maybe the next time we do our weekly show. So appreciate you guys. Enjoy.
Thanks.